How nice is it to be a Star Wars fan nowadays? We get something to watch almost every year. But the problem is there's so much more in the Star Wars comics that none of the movies ever covered. Here are some of the most significant differences between the Star Wars comics and movies. So many supporting characters are nowhere to be seen in the movies. The whole Star Wars franchise consists of a whole army of main and supporting characters. But where do all these amazing supporting characters go whenever we watch a movie? In the comics. Lead characters like Obi-Wan, Rey, and Luke are present in both comics and movies, but in the movies, they get almost all of the screen time, and most of the supporting characters are nowhere to be seen. On the other hand, the comics provide adequate space for each and every character. While reading the comics, you'll get to explore a whole new world filled with some characters that you didn't even know existed. We're hoping that Marvel will bring more Star Wars supporting characters to the limelight, as previously the studio gave different characters, including Lando Calrissian, Chewbacca, and Darth Maul, their own miniseries. Comics are more detailed than films. Talking about the details, say it be Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo, we've all known them for years. But can we really say we know them well enough? We can confidently say that the people who know these characters from the comics definitely know them better than those who know these characters from the movies. Star Wars movies tell us a lot, but many details present in the comics aren't included in the movies. When you read the comics, you'll get a new insight into the heroic characters as well as the villains. From larger and critical details to most minor ones, everything is there in the pages of Star Wars comics. Darth Vader comic is better than the movies. The first two issues of Darth Vader were definitely classics. However, the third issue by Salvador Larroca, Kieran Gillen, and Edgar Delgado has its own fan base, as it's proved to be the better one as compared to the movies. In the comic Empire Strikes Back, Dr. Aphra is presented as the perfect foil character for Vader. On the other hand, Vader is also shown enlisting to serve in a motley crew of bounty hunters in order to get his hands on the Millennium Falcon. Not just that, we see the same willingness when he keeps agreeing to work with several questionable characters and ends up with Dr. Aphra. Another thing to mention here is that Darth Vader's strength isn't completely portrayed in the movies. We don't get to see him using all the immense power he possesses. Instead, the peak power show-off in the original trilogy and Rogue One aren't even comparable to what he does in the comics. We can't say that the movies don't show him as a powerful one, but we do believe that while filming, they might not have the level of power in their minds as in the comics. This one example fits many of the other movie adaptations presenting different Star Wars characters. The power shown in the movies is much weaker than in the comics, and that's not good, because action and the characters showing off their heroic powers are all a fan needs. Many small moments that had a great impact on the storyline aren't included in the movies. For movies, screen time restricts the amount of stuff that can be added to the movie. Comics, on the other hand, are different in this matter. We can't blame the movies, though. The screen time is what stops them from incorporating every detail in them, while comics have the benefit of diving into smaller conversations, problems, and action sequences. For example, if we take another example from the Darth Vader comics, the moment where Boba Fett gives Darth Vader the name of Skywalker. This moment isn't included in any movie, and we understand why not. Comics come with short stories. Movies don't. Star Wars fans are never tired of watching or reading more stories. Keeping that in mind, comics can add as many short stories as they want, but when it comes to film adaptations, it's pretty impossible to make short films every now and then. In short, some short stories are great for reading, but aren't good enough for having a whole movie based on them. The flexibility and space to provide more content is another great difference between comics and movies. You can see a mix of genres in comics. While Lucasfilm is experimenting with this trick, the potential of mixed genres is already present in the comics. Not to mention, the films also fit a tiny bit in this regard, but not as much as they can. The most significant example of mixed genres is the Han Solo series if you turn to the comics. The comics are great for enjoying a unique spin, as the stories will definitely put you in one. The gaps between several installments. Each of the Star Wars movies covers a whole story that spans decades, and that requires talent, because putting every important moment in a 2-hour movie is quite difficult. With that being said, when every single major Star Wars storyline is spread out between different films, which means a large chunk of the story vanishes whenever there's a new installment coming, the parts considered not so important have to say goodbye, but that doesn't happen with comics. For example, if you remember Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, a whole 30 years worth of story isn't present between the two films. This means a huge chunk of storytelling ground just simply vanished. Visual adaptations do cover a major part of the storylines, but comics in particular shed light on the whole life stories of different characters. Comics have some of the biggest revelations included in them. Some major revelations regarding the canon have already been unfolded in the comics, while the movies still have to talk about them. Anakin's father and his identity. Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, is one of the baddest dudes in the whole Star Wars universe. However, we knew almost nothing about his past and specifically his father. The Darth Vader comic revealed that Anakin wasn't born due to some miraculous conception. Instead, he does have a father. According to the comic, it was Palpatine who used his dark influence and created a child inside of Shmi Skywalker. This means that from the very beginning, Anakin was supposed to be born so he could join the dark side as a powerful Sith Lord. Han Solo and his wife. Right when we thought Han Solo could do anything but get married. However, Star Wars number 6 had a surprise for all of us, and that was Han Solo's wife. In the comic, we meet a woman called Sana who claims to be Han's wife. On the other hand, Han insists that their marriage wasn't real and it was supposedly a scam so they could pull off a grand robbery. However, Han ran off with Sana's share as well, after which Han's supposed wife spent a long time hunting him down. Boba Fett's journey of becoming a bounty hunter. No one knows why Boba Fett decided to become a bounty hunter, but the comic Star Wars Age of Republic reveals this big secret as well. In the comic, Jango Fett takes the readers back to the past when Boba Fett was still young. Boba decides to follow in his father's footsteps while he and 3 other rogues are on a mission along with Jango. 2 of the 3 rogues try to betray Boba's father, and Boba kills them on the spot without hesitating even for a second. Then he tells the 3rd rogue to go and tell everyone what a terrifying bandit he's become. He later reveals to his father that he enjoyed killing the rogues, which explains that Fett didn't become a bounty hunter because of his father's death. Instead, he was always a sadist and loved violence. C-3PO's red arm. C-3PO's red arm has been a huge secret for many of us, and this secret was also revealed in a comic instead of a movie. In The Force Awakens, C-3PO suddenly has a red arm, and no one tells anything about where it came from. However, in the comics, we get to know the story behind it. As per the comic, when C-3PO and another droid named OMRI were transported to the Resistance base to be questioned, the ship carrying them had a crash landing on an unknown planet. There, the 2 droids spent time together until one day C-3PO was attacked by some creature from that planet. During that attack, C-3PO lost his arm, and the fellow droid sacrificed his own self to save C-3PO. The arm was OMRI's arm that C-3PO kept as his own as a tribute to his fallen friend. For now, this is everything we've got for all the Star Wars fans, but that doesn't mean that it's the end. We'll definitely be back with more content for you very soon. Do share your views about the comics and movies and how different they are in the comments below. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll meet you again with another video soon. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye.